It's very short. It was very short.
That was
but
so
I made that.
good.
I made that for you.
Oh, thank you. That was so good.
Yeah.
Wow.
It didn't take me very long actually to make that, but
That's impressive.
yeah.
Really impressive.
Welcome everyone to What the Fiction and our deep dive discussion show of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4, The Whole World is Watching. I'm Marie-Claire Gould, your host, and with me is...
Some guy she picked up on the side of the road.
No, not on the side. It was definitely Speaker's Corner. That's where I picked you up.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ever so long ago.
Ever so long ago.
Coming up on 20 years
Long
ago.
time.
Yes.
Yeah. But yes, we are Marie-Claire and this is Kyle. You got to actually say your name.
I know. I don't like doing it. Anyway, welcome to What the Fiction, presenting The Falcon and the Winter Soldier, episode 4. Let's dig into it, shall we? What are your thoughts?
Oh, no, we got to do drinks first.
Drinks first? Okay, that's right. Then I don't have to hold two anymore.
Yeah, I'm like, why are you hanging on to that?
It is yet another show, yet another episode. So let's sit down, have a drink. I feel like this show is one where you sit and have a brewski with a friend. And so we're having bro drinks. That's typically
These
what it is.
do not look like bro drinks.
And I know that they don't look like bro drinks, but they are in fact genuinely bro drinks because they harken back to the 1980s where this drink was made famous. It is none other than a tequila sunrise.
Oh my god, I'm gonna hate this so much. That's what you said.
I hate them so much. I don't like tequila. I have had so many bad experiences with tequila that the taste of it brings back those memories. But this is a tequila sunrise, and it is orange juice tequila, and then you pour grenadine over the back of a spoon so that it sinks down to the bottom, and you end up with this beautiful, like, hey, it's a vacation drink in your hand. Normally it's supposed to have ice, but we ran out of ice.
We ran out of ice.
It is drinks time. Well, I don't know what you're drinking, but we're having tequila sunrises. I hope you're having a bro drink as well.
It looks really nice. Like, it looks very sunrisey.
It is a sunrise. And anyway, there you go. Cheers. Thank you to Kurt Russell for making this famous and drinking tequila sunrise and making what people I'd assumed was a girly drink, into a manly beverage.
But we're having it in like very nice.
Yeah, this is a glass you're supposed to have it.
This is a goblet-y drink, yeah.
In a goblet type drink.
All right, anyway, I'm gonna hate this because I'm not a tequila person. So
cheers.
The things I do for this stream: dress up in costumes, drink,
wear makeup, chin.
I'm delaying this as long as possible.
Cheers to you, and cheers to us. Here's to another great episode.
Chin chin. Yes. It only tastes a little like cough syrup.
It's not at all like cough syrup, but you can definitely get that bit of tequila burn in there.
Oh.
And chin chin to you as well, Earth to Star Child. Oh, I do not like that. I do not like that. Sam, I am.
It just has like this like very like chaser taste. Like it tastes good when you're like, yeah.
Yeah. Maybe once we get to the grenadine, I'll be happy, but then again, it's just syrup. So. Yummy! Oh, yeah, you can have all the tequila in the world, Aaliyah. Although we just finished off the last of the tequila.
Oh, really?
Yep. So thankfully, there's no tequila in our house anymore.
Somebody brought us like a tequila that was like the Costco version of tequila. So it's like, what, like 2 kilograms?
2 liters.
2 liters?
It's the same amount, yeah.
Yeah, 2 liters of tequila, which if you're not from a metric country is like half a gallon?
Yeah.
2 pints-ish? 2 pints of tequila.
Anyway, I don't like it, but I don't mind a
we feed it to
sunrise.
others that
It'd
like
be better if there was ice and a little bit less grenadine. I kind of went a little hard on the grenadine.
Yeah,
as
you were just trying to cover the tequila, but are we just trying to finish this before we get started? So
I don't know. If we do, we'll be drunk. So
sure, I'm gonna put mine down. Ooh, that was very, very. Whew. To me, it just tastes like cough syrup because of the cherry.
Can you get to the cherry yet? I don't know. I haven't really gotten to it yet. We'll see.
I don't know.
Nonetheless, it is a fun drink, and if you pour the grenadine right, it looks really cool.
It's
like
very
a
pretty,
beautiful sunrise. So,
yeah. I really wanted you to do a different drink.
It's too bad. That's not what happened.
I'm sad.
There might be a surprise at some point, though, during this episode, during this recap.
How?
Because I'm magic.
Oh my God, I'm not prepared for this. If there's another drink I have to drink with tequila, I'm not going to be okay.
We'll figure it out.
Okay.
Anyway, let's move on.
Okay, so how did you feel about this episode? Because I would say a lot of people really jived with this episode. I was just kind of snooping on my friend's Facebook he has a lot of friends who were like, WandaVision, and we're like, oh, this show gets me on a level, and I'm like, okay. I mean, I like what this show is doing. I think that this particular episode was a little hard for me because it was, and there was even a trigger warning for the end scene that came out beforehand because they were so worried about it, and that makes sense based on what happened. But they are really going hard into, I don't know. What does America look like to the rest of the world? Really hard into it. And I find it quite hard to discuss because I have a lot of American friends. And, like any country, there's going to be good and bad aspects of what their foreign policy looks like, and for the most part America's foreign policy doesn't look good to the people who experience it. So that's basically what's happening in these episodes, and I just wasn't expecting that from a Marvel show, I guess. How many heady topics, how many definitions of things I get to talk about that I wasn't expecting to talk about, like jingoism, which we talked about in a previous episode, and we've talked about we're probably going to talk a little bit about neoliberalism today because that's something that is actually brought up, not in name but in definition. And was I expecting that out of a Marvel show? No. But that's okay, because I am prepared to talk about all sorts of different things. Yeah. What did you think?
Are you prepared to talk about Marvel's love of fanny packs? Because Marvel loves fanny packs.
I'm excited
to
talk about this.
There are a lot of fanny packs out there, and I think that was my favorite takeaway of the show was how much Marvel loves fanny packs. I wrote down a list. So Star-Lord has a fanny pack.
He does, yeah.
Cable has a fanny pack.
Okay.
And while that's from Deadpool 2, I still want to include it. The Marvel superheroes and fanny packs are a big thing.
They're all part of the universe now, because Deadpool's actually, they've said Deadpool's going to be brought into the universe.
Cable there too with his fanny pack. It's a handy bandolier, but it's not. It's a fanny pack. I want to say that Cap had a fanny pack, and I can't remember where. And you know that if you do a Google search for Captain America fanny pack, you just get Captain America fanny packs. You don't get anything related to the movie.
He had belts. Like you know how
in
Batman...
his costume, yes, but I meant in his normal attire. I was pretty sure at one point he had a fanny pack, and I'm positive that Bruce Banner also, with the Mark Ruffalo Bruce Banner, had a fanny pack at some point.
I have no idea.
I feel like they really like the fanny pack, and
they're bringing it back.
Well, I think it also just does a good job of humanizing a character, right?
Yeah, you're like, I can't see. The thing is, when they have to wear the very stylistic pants that they have to wear in the Marvel universe, none of them have pocket space, right? So
there's only one bulge they want to see.
Yeah, the fanny pack.
So, right, sure. So yeah, I felt like there's a lot more fanny packs in superhero attire and costuming these days, and I know people are like, it was a utility belt. I'm like, that is the same thing. It was actually more like a passport bundle, which you would wear close to the skin under the shirt.
Oh yeah.
But it was still a fanny pack, and failed in the most inopportune time. And we'll get to that, I don't doubt. But it just had
too many zippers. You don't need that many zippers. That's what.
Anyway, so lots of fanny packs out there, and I can't wait to see more of them.
It is a very humanizing thing.
It really is.
So, but what did you struggled with this episode?
I struggled so much with this episode. I don't think I liked it.
Oh,
I think I can fully go out there and say I didn't really like this episode.
there's
don't
still
really
good
feel
stuff
like
to talk about. Like,
Oh,
yeah.
Like, the thing is, like, I look at it from a meta-textual lens, and I'm trying to see what lens is this being written in. How am I supposed to view this?
I'm still very confused
that's being pushed in front of us.
Why? The point. What's the point of this show? I'm still confused about what they're trying to say, and
Yeah. Who are the bad guys? Who are the good guys? Who are the
There's no bad guys. There's no good guys. It's all gray.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they're saying.
But not at the same time, because Sam is demonstrably a good guy.
He's a good guy. Yeah.
It is neat to see the shift in tone that's being undertaken with regards to the humanizing of Bucky, of James Buchanan Barnes. His character, I think that they, behind the lens, have seen changes and they're seeing new angles with which to approach his character that they did not really pursue.
I'm gonna try to slam this.
Yeah, you should. It just tastes like grenadine at the end.
I'm gonna try to slam it.
Anyway, finish that off while I finish this off. It is suffering from a wealth of storylines and a wealth of perspectives, and that is diffusing the lens by which we, the audience, are supposed to see things. Well, are we supposed to see things from Sam's perspective, Bucky's perspective, Carly's perspective,
Sharon's perspective,
John Walker's perspective? Because we're getting a lot of those moments. And it diffuses
and
us.
And you didn't even remember Zemo. Everybody's like loving Zemo, so they're going to identify with him, even if they're like, oh, he's a bad guy, but they like him, so they're going to identify with him and see things from his perspective. And he's very convincing. And I'm going to tell you why you really shouldn't listen to that guy, because he's a jerk.
I don't think you should listen to any of them. You definitely need to find your role models in other realms out there.
This is so weird.
But
it is. I don't know if they're purposefully trying to make it not confusing, but certainly give you the plethora, the potpourri of people you can identify with, other than to say, "Hey guys, the world is a complicated place." Literally, they say that in this episode. It's so much more complicated. It used to be black and white. Well, has it actually ever been black and white? That's the question that we should be asking. Is our memories and our understanding of...
I literally took quotes from this episode. This episode was so
quotey,
onerous to me that I felt like I needed to really spend time with the dialogue. What are people saying and why are they saying it? Do we get that from here?
Why?
And they make it very clear in the beginning. It's Sam who says, for 5 years, people have been welcomed into countries that have kept them out using barbed wire. There was houses and jobs. Folks were happy to have people around to help them rebuild. It wasn't just one community coming together. It was the whole world coming together. Yeah. And then boom, just like that, it goes right back to the way it used to be.
Yeah.
So they are not shying away from...
and we were like, are they ever going to deal with the blip? And you and I were, during WandaVision, like, I hope they never deal with it. I hope they just pass over. And they're dealing with it so much.
I don't know if they have the bandwidth of this 6 hours of TV show to deal with it.
Yeah.
So complicated. But anyway.
Yeah, that's where we're at.
Way to tackle it, at least. Get started.
But at least they're not shying away from...
Exactly. Well, one thing we haven't seen is the GRC. We haven't seen any
commercial.
Well, we saw a commercial, but we haven't seen anyone from the GRC and what their perspective is. We've only seen the displaced, the people who have come back to the world, right? We haven't,
and the people that are working as agents,
are superheroes
US
who come
agents.
back to the world who are just trying to stop things.
Yeah,
but we haven't seen those people that have lived and they want the. We haven't seen the GRC's perspective. That's all I'm going to say on this.
Yeah,
it's a complicated panoply of power.
Yeah, my fear is that they won't have enough storytelling runway to resolve all of these things, and they're just like opening up all these questions that probably will never get solved in Phase 4. I don't know.
Yeah.
It seems like like all of this stuff we're supposed to care about, and they keep on adding more. And then we like, I read that article that they're all like teasing, like, oh, there's gonna be a specialty person coming in next episode, and I'm like, you have
maybe it's the astrophysicist from WandaVision we were supposed to get.
Yeah.
Like,
No,
come on.
I mean, everyone's like,
heck?
Mephisto, because it's like, that's the joke, right?
Yeah.
But I can't handle more. I don't think we'll see. Like, I'm always willing to be like, okay, let's see how you do this. But to me, it just feels like they've already got so much going on. So.
I agree.
Are we back?
I guess so. I'm going to guess we're back. I can see our audio moving, but we'll have to wait like 15 seconds before people will tell us if they can hear sound or not.
Oh my God. That was weird. I don't know what happened.
I don't know either. Just kind of cut.
Huh.
Thanks for sticking with us.
Yes. All right. Thumbs up.
All right.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
We'll just start talking and see what happens, because who knows?
Yeah. They say we're back.
Yay. All right. Technical difficulties sometimes happens with live streams. These things. Mm-hmm. So I hope you liked my little technical... I made it with the hope of never having to use it.
You make it hoping to never use it, and then you're prepared if you need to.
And then, yeah, that was good. Yeah.
Well done, Marie-Claire.
Yeah.
You are a professional.
I am a professional, yes. Professional person.
They missed about 30 seconds of our talking. Don't worry, it was just vamping.
Yeah. I don't know what we were talking about.
I was talking about a study in contradictions.
Oh,
that this
yes,
episode
yes.
and maybe this entire show it contradicts itself.
It's trying to show you both sides of the like situation, and that everything is way more complicated than you give it credit for.
Exactly.
And it's not actually ever black and white, and it was never black and white, even with Cap, the old Cap, Steve Rogers Cap, being the hero of the day. And like, that's what they're going into in so many of this. So yeah, I'm so happy that you liked my standby. more things that you get to see that I prep just because I'm a nerd. All right, let's get into the episode. We start out in the...
Let's go to the past.
It was their first flashback.
Once again, show don't tell.
Yeah, I loved it. So this was the deprogramming of James Buchanan Barnes. She uses the
7 words.
7 words. And I think that they're showing us this. And this is, I'm going to speculate / conjecture. I'm just saying that they're showing us this to say that they got rid of the one thing, but not the other thing that Zemo makes reference to. There's something still in there. They got rid of the words, but there's something still.
Well, you can never get rid of the trauma.
Yeah.
Which is part of it, right? Like, they've gotten rid of the commands, they've gotten rid of the peace, and they're showing us this as well. But they're also showing that Bucky has a relationship with the Wakandan people.
Io, yeah.
And I really started to think about this a lot, too, and how Wakanda taking in James is really a show of just how positive and light forming Wakanda is, because he was not responsible for the for the death of King T'Chaka.
No.
That was not his response. He had nothing to do with that. And Wakanda says, you know what, you were a victim in as much as we were.
Yeah.
And no one else seems to be willing to treat you as a victim.
And they were willing to help him heal and like rest and like fix him up.
Find a path.
Yeah. And you and I were talking, like, we try not to talk, but we do end up talking a little bit. And you're like, Sam is a genuinely good person. And Bucky used to be a good person, but now he's just broken. And I think that they're just...
So Malcolm Spellman, when he pitched the show to Marvel Supervisor, I read a big interview about this. When he pitched the show, it was supposed to be about the 2 secondary sidekicks, bro characters.
Yeah.
They had great chemistry. Let's put them together and see what happens. And he said it wasn't until we'd gotten started on the path that we realized just how many layers there were to unfold with the character of Bucky.
Yeah.
That here he is. How do you deal with how lonely you are being 100-year-old person and having zero ways to relate to people. And the only person he had that was of a shared experience with him was Cap. And Cap's gone now. And so now you've lost your best friend, your relationary anchor. How do you move forward? And they said and especially Sebastian Shaw, they couldn't help but continue down this path of exploring this story and exploring the themes inherent in this.
It's so interesting because this scene, like, I read a lot of Bucky fan fiction in Wakanda, like a lot when like Civil War was all done and everything, because I love Civil War. No apologies. I love it so much. But I read a lot of Bucky fan fiction, and this sort of scene plays out so much better than even the fan fiction. So kudos to them, and also kudos for them to pick up the threads that are naturally there and explore them, because it's something that sometimes we get frustrated with as fans, to say, like, where did that go? Why wasn't that important? You know, why didn't you care about that person's experience and that person's characterization? And I feel like they're handling Bucky like so carefully and yet realistically, like what happens later on with his arm, like I have a lot to say about that too. Yeah. So I feel like they're doing a really good job with this particular storyline in general, and it hurts every time they explore things, but that's also really important to explore things with his character.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, we come back to modern day where she's like, you have 8 hours, White Wolf. Did she give him that name? I hope so.
That's her pet name for him?
Oh my God.
He comes in the tent at night, come to me, my white wolf. Yeah, I don't know about that, but...
I mean, I'm going to...
It's kind of a denigration at this point, right? It's like...
I mean, he's a pet? Like, okay. I mean, that's fine. I mean...
You can't tame a wolf.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a lone wolf either, so I don't know. He's the weird albino wolf in Wakanda.
Huh. Yeah, so this was great. I love the fact that we just conjectured as to where Wakanda was in all of this, and now Wakanda has a direct role to play here.
Yeah, they have needs, desires, and much like in Civil War, how T'Challa's like story was like kind of like this through line, like, okay, here's these two factions fighting, the Avengers are fighting each other over all of these things and what the rules mean. That's kind of what we're getting. But like Wakanda's like, no, we want this thing particularly, and they're like, yeah, which that's exactly what happened with Black Panther in Civil War. Black Panther kind of like ran through the plot on his own path. Which was really good.
Really good.
Yeah.
So back to the Spellman interview. There was one other thing I wanted to bring up with a couple of things. But actually, the one thing... So we talked about how Bucky opened up a whole bunch of new things that they definitely wanted to explore that they didn't see in the first place. And then, as they started detailing the Sam storyline and moving through all of that and opening those pieces up and seeing where that was going, that actually... And he was allowed to say this in the article. He said that the exploration of the Sam story of what's happening in this influenced the A-line story for Phase 4.
Really?
Yeah, that's all that I'm like, wow, now that's a teaser, because like it goes to show Sam is going to have a very relevant and important position to play going forward in the MCU storyline for Phase 4.
Yeah, there's so many things that I loved about this episode, and yet like I struggled with some aspects of it. It was a very mixed bag for me. I loved what they did, and I loved what they said, and I just, there's so much, but then there was some things that kind of struck me just very odd in how it came together in the end. But yeah, love this. Love this
a great scene. Great flashback. Show me, don't tell me. And they did it again. They're saying, you know what? We gave you those 7 words. That wasn't a clue that Zemo is in control of him and has said the words, and that's why he's escaped. The 7 words don't have their power anymore, and he has moved on.
Yeah. And you're right. This show has done so good at Show Me, Don't Tell Me.
Yeah.
And then we get this really cool like apartment or
I think this is one of Baron Zemo's homes.
I mean, yeah, that's probably I mean, he knows where everything is.
He knew where exactly. He knew where everything was. He opened up the right dish to pull out the Turkish delights, and his son's favorite.
Yeah.
So lokum is what it's called, and it's like hundreds of years old as a candy and as a treat. It has an amazingly rich and varied past. Turkish delights do, and it was interesting to see them pull them out and play.
Yeah,
put them in play here.
I really loved the stained glass. That's why I stole it for the back here.
Yeah,
because I loved the stained glass, and just one of the things that from this moment on, the lighting is like this in so many of the scenes, in the warehouse scenes, in the funeral, in the bathroom that Hoskins is trapped in. Like the lighting is always like this.
Yeah, because I think that they're showing us that not much time has passed.
Yeah, and
this is the same time of day.
And you mentioned that it was really interesting that they chose to not run around the world like they had done in previous episodes, where they're like, oh, suddenly we're in Madripoor, and suddenly we're in Germany, and suddenly we're in, Slovakia. Like, no, everything is happening in this location. In Riga, yeah. So
everything is happening here, and everything is happening in this time, and everything happens with a time limit. However, no one seems to want to let that whole time limit pass by at all.
Yeah.
You've got 8 hours. Well, until we feel like it's dramatically relevant that we appear. You've got 10 minutes. That was too long. I can't wait for 10 minutes.
Yeah.
My ADHD is acting up and I cannot get through that amount of time.
I have so much to say
about
Baron Zemo.
In a housecoat?
I mean, he just had a shower.
That's true.
He's all about his cleanliness.
He's bathed, he's clean, he's fresh. Everyone else is wearing the exact same clothes.
The very concept of a super soldier always will always trouble people. Okay, so I have so many thoughts about this. Okay. So they initially talked about, Carly escalating things, and this kind of just plays into Zemo's whole speech, haha, see, this is all just logical leaps, right? Like he's like, oh, Carly escalating things obviously means that she's a supremacist, because you have no choice but to be a supremacist if you start wanting or desiring power. And this always is this is always the way that especially white supremacists and people that pull into whiteness or people with power express that you shouldn't do extreme things to change the world around you. You must be polite. You can't burn down a store in protest. You can't be violent in an effort to free other people from violence. This is the it's benevolent discrimination, and it happens, and there's another instance of it later on, but from a different character, and I just want to call it out because this is the tricky slippery slope path that this logic gets into. Oh, you're using extreme measures, and thus that means that you're not on the path of trying to improve things. Everybody must be Gandhi if you're trying to change the world. And that's not necessarily realistic.
Martin Luther King said that as soon as you do any one thing, any one element of violence or countermeasure that you feel would need to be raised in order to get your point across, you immediately evaporate your point. And I mean, he said it so much more eloquently than I ever could. And it was the main disagreement between Martin Luther King Jr. and Malcolm X.
I know.
Huge.
I know. But I also can't hold it against oppressed or subjugated people, or people that are under lack of power for going to extreme measures to be able to get their ways. I can't hold that against them. I can't hold the fact that, riots happen because people are experiencing large amounts of emotions. Like, and that's the thing that is always held against, especially like the Black Lives Matter movement, when the George Floyd riots happened and protests happened, when anything went extreme or there was any looting that happened, people were like, oh, now they're just being, but you can't. It's
the rhetoric of the right.
I know it is. Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say, is that he is using that, and it is slippery slope logic that he is saying. And even Sam is like, no, you can't say that. like you can't go that. And he just doesn't have the words to speak up to the very smart Zemo. But Zemo is coming from a place and a former position of power. And it is outlined very clearly in this episode, but it's subtle, and it's very subtle, and it's old money, neoliberal type money, people who have control that do not want to lose it. And it is brought out through all of this. So the Baron comes from a position of old money and old power, and you have to keep that in mind. So he is saying he does not want to lose his power whenever he says he does not want other people to have power. And I will show you.
Okay, by all means. I completely disagree with you, but that's what we're here for, is that sort of thing. Okay, all right, fine. We'll talk about this a little bit, and then we'll move back to the episode.
Okay.
So, so Martin Luther King Jr., he believed that the only way to get lasting established change was through peaceful protest and through peaceful means. You had to always be better than your oppressor in order to show the light. Because only a small amount of people hold the power.
Yeah.
And if you can use your words and you can use your benevolent actions to sway over the huddled masses to your side, then you will have achieved what you needed to do. And the people who are abusing and manipulating their power, the small that they be, will be removed from it. Mm-hmm. Now, I'm not saying that he was right or he was wrong, because I
think he was coming from a place of like...
He came from a place where the people who were in power would have respected the huddled masses. But the problem is that anything that you do, and we've talked about how Dan Carlin in his Common Sense podcast talks about this too, is that the preponderance of uneducated mass who believes the things that are told to them by the media from those who are in power means that any time you burn down a liquor store or you raid or you rampage through a Target, he anytime you do that, it abuses you of any message you're trying to make, because the medium is the message. And so because the people in power are going to twist that to their own aims. They have power and they're abusing it to change people's views. I don't know how to resolve this. I honestly don't like wading into it, but I feel it's important because I want people's voices all around the world to be of equal weight and measure. And it's not possible in today to do that. So, okay, this show has that in it because it cannot separate itself from it. And we've got very clearly articulated that the people who have come back, who had power before, want that power again. Yeah. And they are doing what they can to reclaim that power. Other people who had power thrust upon them because of the vacuum that was created in the blip, they want that power to be returned to them. But the flag smashers are none of those people. The flag smashers are just normal people who were in a position of poor and inequality before, and now they've been thrust into. They have equality. There was room for them in homes and jobs, and now they're being shoved out of those homes and jobs and told they're not people of those countries any longer. So they just want that back. They want that one world, one people. Yeah. So this show, no matter what, is going to have a conversation about power. Yeah. And that is going to be relevant from our own experiences in our own lives, because we see power constantly being abused i.e. Matt Gaetz and Trump.
Yeah.
We see power being abused on the regular. And we, the people who do not have that power, point our fingers and say, why isn't that person being torn down for their abuse of power? How do we get to the point where we can achieve that is what we're seeking. This show's not going to answer that for us. I wish it could. I don't even know if it'll be able to answer the question of how do the displaced people and the people who've returned come back together to find unity.
Or to find their own place or what place should be going forward. And it should have been a discussion between people to be like, hey, maybe things weren't right before. And that's the thing that is being said, is that like this displacing moment has changed what people's perspectives are. And you can't ignore that if you're coming back. And you have to try to empathize with the people that went away too. And you have to try to come to some sort of common ground. And I don't know, they're not going to be able to do that in 2 episodes.
No, they're not.
Yeah, but they are laying it out. And Zemo acknowledging Steve is the exception proves the rule stuff is again like him playing into the hand.
Well, okay, so you've got the picture right here.
Yeah.
They comment on Steve.
Yeah.
And that's the hole in his argument.
Yes.
And he literally puts his finger right through the hole of the cookie because his whole argument can't be supported because Steve is an exception to that. And I would say Isaiah is an exception to that as well.
Yeah.
And I don't think that they really harp on that at all. They just kind of breeze past this. So, but from Zemo's perspective, super soldiers, because he's coming from an Eastern European standpoint, are horrible. The Red Skull is the harbinger of all of this that comes.
The whole episode. I don't think it's coming from a place of that. I think it's coming from a place of, if people have more power than me, then I will lose my power. I think it's coming from a place of that rather than, because it's not like these people, the Flag Smashers, have any other fundamental power. It's not like they're Tony Starks. It's not like he was more concerned about Tony Stark and Steve Rogers than I think he would be about the Flag Smashers if they were just like building dams with their superpowers. But they're a political influence.
His clear point there is superheroes, not super soldiers. But I think it starts at super soldiers and builds from there for Zemo.
We're gonna continue this debate this whole episode, but there's the candy there.
He did point out Red Skull, Jesse. He talked about Red Skull in there, and he's mentioned him in the past.
Yeah, and he did this logical leap thing where he talks about Nazis to modern people, and he kind of mentions all the bad people, and then they were like, oh, but Steve, and it's like, oh yeah.
Well, Steve is an exception, yes, and I can't explain it, and I could explain why Steve is an exception for you right there.
Yeah,
I mean, it's easy.
No, but
humble beginnings lead to humble. Like even then, you can still see that if Steve had not gone back and actually, you know what? Steve went back in time. F Steve. He made a personal, selfish choice.
F Steve. Well, we see these two suffering from it differently.
Yep, absolutely.
I mean, he certainly didn't expect going forward from today. But yeah, the Turkish delights, which I mean, those don't look like the Turkish delights that I've seen.
Really?
No.
Huh.
No. Normally they're like a roll. They're like a roll, and then there's like things on the outside and things on the inside, and different flavorings. Yeah.
Those are all different flavorings, but they're more of a condensed thing. They're exactly as Turkish delights, a soft, chewy, and they're coated in like cornstarch so they don't stick to each other. Yeah, they're super yummy, and they're super bad for you. Just so you know, it's 90% carbohydrate.
Oh.
89.79%
so
carbohydrates.
we're not having those on keto.
No, we're not. I was like, ooh, let's have Turkish delights. I could make some because literally there's a recipe on how to do it. It doesn't take very long. And I'm like, I can't do that on keto.
Temptation of the young. Yes, you could call out from, yes.
Yeah.
Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. But we see the power dynamic. So we know where Zemo is staying, and we know where the Flag Smashers are staying.
Right.
Literally camping out in the ruins of a building. There's no roof.
They have sleeping bags, and that's it.
Yeah.
So this is one of the contradictions I'm talking about here. This is a show in contradictions. These people have power. These people are a threat. These people are capable of doing a great many terrible things to our world, is what GRC and Captain America and the governments are saying. But here they are sleeping in a torn down, skies open to them camp. I just literally sleeping bags.
No shelter.
No shelter whatsoever. They have no shelter. And yet they are supposed to be considered a massive threat. We went from Zemo and Sam and Bucky in the lap of luxury with stained glass beautiful windows to this.
He just had a shower.
Exactly.
Yeah.
When's the last time any of them had a shower, and unless it was being put up by a farm? These people are being hunted.
Yeah.
I think we need to recognize by everyone if this is the sort of environment that they're constantly finding themselves
I do want to call out the David Attenborough-esque voice that does the voiceover for the GRC's like response to this. It was very funny. He was the reporter or whatever, but I was like, it's like David Attenborough talking about the situation. I love it. It was just BBC.
Three Men Walking.
Okay, Three Men Walking. So this is another show of how Zemo is viewing. He slips into talking about how his own power and prestige and privilege has been diminished by the society and what is happening around him. So he's like, when I was young, we used to go for dinners here and it was quite classy. And now there's all these dirty people living here.
That's not what he said.
That is what he is
saying. Do you know
saying.
what he said?
I do know.
You know why? You know why they said all of that? I know somebody, Lily brought it up as well. Do you know why he said all of those things?
Why?
It is, again, because they want to show me, don't tell me. He's talking about the past. He's doing this.
I know.
Why? Because okay.
No, go ahead.
Oh.
I was just saying I agree with you.
Right.
Yes.
There's a reason for that.
Okay.
And it has nothing to do with his character. It has everything to do with being able to explain why he is where he is later in the episode without having to suddenly show us those pieces. He knew exactly where Carly was going to be. He escaped from that room like it was the drop of a hat through an almost invisible door, and he got around and away because he commented on the fact that he knew this area and he knew this building very well.
Yes. And also, it can also be two things. He is also saying, like, look at all my privilege from before and look at all my power from before. It's both. It has to be both, because what is his motivation for wanting to destroy super soldiers?
They took his wife and kid from him. Does he need greater motivation than that? A rise to his reestablished power base?
I mean, I think it can be both. I think he just
wants the death and destruction of any ability to make and have and be a superhero, super soldier in the future.
Yeah, you think he would team up with U.S. Agent then?
Why?
Just because that's also kind of him. Like, he doesn't want people to have superpowers except for him.
There is no U.S. agent yet.
I know,
but New Cap is just another embodiment of the thing that he doesn't want in the world.
I mean, he doesn't want it for a variety of reasons, I think.
We can litigate this at length if you want to later, which is literally a line he says. He's like, you killed Dr. Nagel. Well, we can litigate that later.
Can we?
I watched you shoot him in cold blood.
You shot him in the face.
Yeah, but then that rocket launcher went off and he was going to be dead anyway because that would have exploded. So really, was there much point? 2 seconds of being alive versus suddenly being dead in a much more violent and terribly afflicted way?
Yeah.
Like, oh my God, I don't want to have that debate with you, Zemo.
Yeah. And then we kind of get the, hey, who's going to give us information? Nobody's going to give us information scene where he's like, we're not refugees. We're internationally displaced people. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I thought that was really important.
We're not taking refuge from some place of war and you literally just came back.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we get the Baba Black Sheep, which this is the creepiest friggin' scene.
Well, what's cool was we got one teacher teaching kids.
Yeah.
And then Zemo talking to kids. So, kids are our future. I don't.
Yeah. Nobody's calling them sheep. He's going to use them for their wool, i.e. information.
Or he just sings a well-known song as he walks up.
It's creepy as hell. And then he whispers and is like, don't trust them.
How do you like Zemo? You like Zemo?
No.
You said this many times.
No. I said I like Zemo dancing. I don't think that he's a good person. And
okay. Yeah,
being like, hey,
person.
you're a good villain is a different thing than saying like.
Fair. He has definitely got dimensions.
Oh,
He's not
no.
twirling his mustaches and throwing the damsel on the train tracks. He has many dimensions to him.
This is so creepy. Like, I hated it so much.
Really? I quite liked this scene.
Okay, think about that one character that you played, the grandpa, or you came up with that idea.
Yeah.
Old grandpa.
Yeah.
It's creepy. It's creepy.
I didn't find it to be creepy, though.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think more women probably reacted this way because it is a thing that older men use, is like, here, have this candy, little girl. Yeah, that's creepy.
Okay. That's cool. I mean, it's more insight into your brain and where you see things than anything else. I didn't find it creepy because I found it to be juxtaposed with the other scene that Sam was in and not getting information. Whereas he came in, he sat down to be at the same level as them. He put the candy out and didn't put it in their hands. And he's like, "This is my son's favorite treat." And I just need some information.
I'm so happy so many people
Those guys
in
are bad guys.
the audience watching are like, that was creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but I mean, he does manage to get information. He establishes rapport and also establishes potentially an army of little children to protect him from the bad guys.
I just love also, like, everyone speaks English really well.
Yeah.
We're in Riga, Latvia. I mean, I've never been there, but I wouldn't have thought that they'd speak that much English. But I guess it's one of those fallacies of a TV show that's in one language representing a country that speaks another. So
yeah.
Anyway,
I mean, they do a lot of, like, using other languages, a small amount.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep.
And then we have this really interesting, like, it seems like Bucky has kind of slid to
so they go back to the house.
Yeah, I know,
The apartments.
We're just gonna have some lunch and wait for the. But yeah, it hasn't. Yeah. Ugh. Just.
So they go back. They have some lunch.
They have their discussion,
I guess, and they talk further.
Yeah, like this scene. This was what you mentioned at the top of the episode.
Yeah, that's literally what I quoted.
Yeah, which is, at least Carly's doing something in the end, and it's hard. I'm not here to solve this problem, but I do think that it is something that we all need to discuss, is like, if people have no power, can you hold it against them for using power to bring, knowledge and understanding to a situation?
And like it or not, this is relevant. Mm-hmm. Like over 1 million people are dead in the last year from COVID. And they're not coming back in 5 years' time, suddenly re-blipped into existence. We have huge losses that we're suffering as a result of the pandemic. And this show's kind of touching on how to best move forward is to break down country lines and come together as a people as soon as it's safe to do so. And Thanos is not blipping us anymore.
Yeah, that's... Sam, then, like, moving past that scene where they have that discussion, they're like, well, what is right and what is wrong? And it's just like this continuous discussion in this show. And then we get Sharon, who gets a phone call from Sam, who's like, I need help. And she's like, I can sense a favor coming in. Yep. And all the while she's like walking into this heavily armed, barricaded location, right?
Just walking through barricades just like it's nothing.
Walking in like she owns the place.
Men, big, thick, meaty boys with their weapons. She's just passing by them like they don't mean anything.
So, like, one of my favorite things about like watching any sort of behind the scenes stuff with George Lucas being on set, especially The Mandalorian, is that whenever George is on set, he's not wearing a name tag, but like literally Kathleen Kennedy and the director of the production and anybody who's behind the scenes is all wearing a name tag. Why? Because his name is on the building, right?
Yep.
Like, that's what it is. This is how Sharon walks into this heavily armed and barricaded location. She walks in like she owns the place. How is she not the power broker, or at least a second in command to the power broker? That is what
she calls the power broker he. But clearly, anyone else who's had dealings with the power broker
doesn't know.
Doesn't refer to a gender at all.
Yeah.
Carly talks about the power broker with Nico and with the other guy later on, but they do not refer to the gender of the power broker at all. And because they know who the power broker physically is.
Yeah, I think that this is the lane of the groundwork and misdirection pieces to say Sharon is the power broker.
I love it. I'm so excited.
I hope that's the reveal
What
because
a great twist.
it is so solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a solid like this scene because this is peeking at the audience to say, look how much power she has by just showing us, right? And not telling us yet. And then when it's revealed, hopefully, that it'll be like, oh my God, Sharon was the power broker. How did she fall this way?
Right.
Isn't that so interesting?
Also, it's a completely unnecessary scene anyway. Sharon doesn't have this information. The only reason they're calling Sharon at all is because Zemo's holding out because he wants to retain his utility to the group. He doesn't want to just get shoved back in jail before he can orchestrate his own escape.
Yeah.
You've got to think he's planning that.
Yeah. I'm trying to understand like what her... Like, I've got a few satellites I can use. It's like, but like, what is she trying to, from the perspective of a power broker, she is trying to get perhaps the serum back first.
Yeah.
Or she is trying to be useful to them so that they don't suspect her. I don't know 100% yet what her motivation is in saying yes, other than to pretend to go along with them.
They don't even use her information anyway because Zemo comes clean and tells them where it is happening and they go there.
Yeah, exactly. And
so, but we clearly this scene happens so that Sharon can be shown wielding a lot of power and passing through barricades like it's nothing, and then calls the power broker he, just to give that once again, give us those contradictions. Right?
Yeah.
Once again, it's a story in contradictions. How does Sharon have all this power herself and yet continue to refer to the power broker as he?
Yeah,
so.
great comments in the chat about the power broker is always watching, which was the graffiti on the wall in the last episode. And then she has satellites.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, you have access to satellites? Oh, you could also be watching. Huh.
So we got to go to a party last episode.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go to a funeral.
Yes, but we start out in a graveyard with the fanny pack. Right. I needed to take a picture of the fanny pack because I was like, this is a very unzippable fanny pack. Those things do not seem very secured.
Not secured at all.
Yeah.
Like there's no padding, no extra protection. You'd think they'd be kept in like a steel case with foam. Like people keep their Dungeons and Dragons miniature collection in far greater protective state than super soldier serum.
Yeah, this is... It feels like it should be in a steel box, you know, like with like the little like foamy, like, and minis are kept that way too. Yeah. Hero clicks are kept better shape than this.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Your Pog collection from elementary school was probably kept in better state than this.
Yeah.
No, it probably was kept in a pencil case, but nonetheless, this seems weird. I understand why though, because they're on the run. They don't have tools and technology. They probably stole it in whatever form they had. It was in.
I did like that it was hidden in a graveyard.
Yes.
Yeah, I thought that was
cool.
That was
in his grandfather's
Yeah,
graveyard, in
it's
like a depressed slid stone scenario.
Yeah,
that was neat.
I really love that. Yeah, it was cool. And then we get this like really cool confrontation on the street. Like, no, that's it. We're bringing him in. You guys are listening to us.
I love this. Like, we know where you are because you're Avengers in Europe. Like, come on, you guys can't go anywhere without being tagged in social media. And I don't think he realizes that the same is true for him now too.
Yeah,
and that's going to
he doesn't know that.
Bite him in the butt.
Yeah,
but it was so neat how like now we have 5 men walking because they all decide to just like
hang
team
out together. 5 men walking.
All of these men don't like each other, except maybe Lamar and John Walker kind of probably like each other.
Yeah, they're friends.
They're friends.
Yeah, they're friends.
Nobody else really likes each other. I feel like Lamar gets along maybe with everybody but Zemo because he's that type of guy that would do that. And I think that's just part of that. Oh my goodness. Anyway.
Yep. And then we get this like really, really good discussion. Like I did want to point out like Sam actually pulling out like he was a counselor at the VNA and he's like, you know what, let me give it a shot at least. Like it's like they should train John Walker and Lamar on this sort of thing. There shouldn't always just be one shoot 'em up, shield throw. option for all of these things, but it's because he identifies with Carly, I think, in so many ways, and he wants to actually help her. And I love that John Walker's like, I don't trust you, Zemo. Handcuff.
Yeah.
That was great. I love that. Yeah. It was good. And then he's like, I give you 10 minutes. No, he doesn't.
No, he doesn't. He cannot give even 10 minutes. But this scene.
Another shot of the windows with all the light coming through. And it's kind of like the spotlight, like so much like behind us. We get another view of this sort of lighting.
Diffused light.
Diffused lighting which is just, so beautiful. And I have to say, like, this episode itself is very beautiful. Whatever they're using is just so good.
Yep, the lenses are all great.
Are you going to say the speech?
Okay, so she gives her speech here, and I want to read that out because I think it's relevant. And I think I'm sad because I think it could have been more relevant. This is a main point where the character of Carly gets to really explain what her motivation is, what's going on, rally her troops. So she starts with, I don't remember my mother or my father. Same goes for siblings, grandparents, cousins. So already we know Carly is alone and doesn't have anyone who isn't a friend. Her friend group is her family, right? See, she says, what I do remember is being alone. And being alone is worse than being cold or hungry or scared. Which I have, I've been alone, and sometimes I spent a year alone in Japan teaching English, and there were weekends where long weekends where I didn't see people for the entirety of when I left work to when I got back to work the next few days, and that was very hard to deal with at times, especially then if you add on to that anytime you're cold. There were some times where I was so cold, and there were times where I was hungry because I ran out of money towards the end of the month and only had like a jar of peanut butter to get by on 3 days. It was not quite that bad. And then there was time I bought discount chicken and got really sick and thought I was going to die alone on a Friday night in my apartment, and then no one would find my body until maybe Thursday the next week when they finally like, maybe we should go check on Kyle, and then just find my blood. Being alone is hard, and being alone, adding on those other things, is even harder. So I really emote with Carly here because losing 50% of the population and suddenly being alone, I can imagine that for so many children and so many kids. So she moves on. She says, until Mama Danya. Like a lot of you here, Mama Danya saved me. She fed me, clothed me, loved me. And I don't know where that speech was going to go, because it's at this point that she sees Sam on the balcony. And that changes the context of what she is about to say, because her demeanor changes. And great job to the actress here. Like, well done, Miss Kellyman. This is brilliant. Like, you, the way you changed it and still remained in like, okay, I still got to talk to these people.
I still got to get them out of here.
And I'm just talking extemporaneously. I didn't even really know what I was going to say. And people were like, you got to say stuff earlier on in the episode. She says this. She taught me that we have to do for each other because they won't. And we know who they are. And she's looking right at Sam when she says this. I don't think she wants to say, Sam, you're not one of the they, are you? Right? Like, this is to Sam, right? They impose struggle and hardship on us. They label us criminals for pushing back. But the struggle is what brings us, all of us together. What they're doing to us is just making us even more united, isn't it, people here at this funeral? For we are, after all, simply one world and one people. So live accordingly.
Yeah.
It's pretty powerful stuff. And it's delivered pretty extemporaneously and uncomfortably, because I don't know if Carly feels comfortable in her role as the leader of the Flag Smashers.
I also think she like kind of, it seems like she's playing it like nobody else will do it, so I must.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, nobody else is going to do it, and if I don't step up, we're all doomed. That line of thinking falls into exactly what Zemo's problem is with super soldiers, and exactly Sam's a reiteration of it too. And then he presses her in the scene to come. But this moment here is brilliant. Just beautiful. It shows like, you know, there are central figures and, you know, like Sam's Titi, which I'm so glad they didn't make not any actual jokes about that. And they just were like, Titi, what is a Titi sort of thing. Yeah. Right. And then he's like, my auntie. Okay. Like,
yeah, that was great. I didn't have a slide for that, but yeah, that was great.
A good moment.
Yeah.
And then Mama Danya just shows that like Carly is Mama Danya's chosen successor. And Mama Danya is this giving, caring, compassionate person whom people everywhere love. And we're passing the power of Mama Danya, which was only introduced to us last episode, on to Carly to give Carly greater gravitas, import, and power.
And Carly has the Hamsa, which is the like hand and world symbol that she was holding when she was holding Mama Danya's hand as she was dying. It was very powerful in that moment. And then she's also like when she says goodbye to her one more time. Yeah. So very good with that. Yeah.
My favorite scene is the one coming right up.
When they have a chat, Sam and her.
Carly.
Yeah. I love this scene too. It's good. I love to like they play her off as like this child.
Yes.
Like they everybody treats her that way, except for the people that are like these big guys that are hanging out with her. They all treat her with massive amounts of respect, but like Sam and
anybody who doesn't know her looks at her and sees a small, waifish, redheaded girl, and they treat her accordingly.
Yeah, exactly.
Which, and to your own, that's going to be poor for you.
Exactly. Yeah, and you know, this scene itself is hard because it comes down to power, and as soon as she starts to get any power to potentially change her situation, that's when people are coming in to like smack her down and smack down the group, and like they can't be Robin Hood because that's not enough to change things permanently. And so they're going in this extreme way because she probably also doesn't have the life experience to know a different way. And it's hard. It's hard to do things a different way. And you're probably very frustrated.
Lily's also like, it's a masterclass in non-threatening body language. He keeps his hands visible and in a non-threatening place. His steps are slow and measured and actually reciprocated by her. And he does not approach to any degree of bodily closeness. Also because she's a super soldier and could just break him in half.
Yeah.
He's just a normal man.
Yeah. And he's not even wearing his wings or anything or his body armor or anything. Yeah.
Which is interesting why he's wearing it later. But nonetheless, he's not wearing it here.
Changed.
And this is important. He's just a guy. And he's trying to show her that the path she's on is not it's exactly kind of what Zemo is afraid of and acting against, that you have power and now you're going to
you're going to slide. You're going to slide and want more.
And she's like, no, I'm not. No, that's not happening. Yeah. He's like, you're killing innocent people, Carly. Yeah. And she says, they're not innocent people. They are roadblocks in my journey and I'd kill them again if I have to. And he's like, you're proving my point. And then she takes a moment, she steps aside, and this is the classic one because her 13-year-old does this all the time. She's like, she just tries to rephrase, relens the argument so that she can be right. She's not willing to see the wrongness of her actions because she's seeing the rightness of her motivations.
Instead of saying like you can both want to have a more stable environment and for your people to be taken care of and for all people to be taken care of, you can still want that and also not kill people.
Yeah.
Like it's hard and learning that middle path, that like gray zone that exists between these two truths is really hard. Like it's a hard thing in any sort of tough situation where there's a lot of complexity in everything that's going on. And they've set up the world to be this way.
Yeah. There are consequences to your actions that your motivations were never called into account for.
Yeah.
Right? So because you were motivated to do this thing that you have done, you now have to recognize that the consequences of the action that you took because of your motivation does put a lens upon your motivation itself. You have to think further through what you're about to do and the impact that you're going to have for doing it.
You have to think about the children that are in this camp and where are they going to be and what are they going to be? You know, you have to think about that. It's transgenerational thinking, and it is hard for basically teenagers and kids to get there because they can't necessarily, without life experience, think past their own immediacy.
So I have to revamp the death count from the previous episode.
Oh, are we doing death count?
No, not yet, but I just have to revamp it because the news came on and told us 3 dead, 11 injured, and I had 5 dead from Kellyman's actions.
And one was a dad. I remember that. Yeah. So we'll keep the death count for the whole episode, but we're not going to do death count until later.
No, death count is pretty easy this episode.
Is it? 1?
Super episode. Yep, super easy. We'll get there.
Okay.
Yep. Okay, John Walker.
2.
He's probably suffering from a great deal of jet lag. He's been flying all over the place. Yeah. That helmet does not look comfortable.
It's just the one ear.
Yeah, it just pushes down on that ear. It's probably, he's wearing that costume. It's really tight. I don't think it's made of breathable material. He probably has been sweating a ton, and he has not been hydrating properly. He's got a rash. I love that. He is dealing with a lot. We haven't seen it at all, but he's probably got people higher ups because he still reports to people. That was the thing about Captain America that was great, is he didn't really have to report to people when he woke up, right? He was like, yeah, sure, I'll be an Avenger. And he goes and lives his life. This guy's now on the docket 24/7. He's being witnessed. He's probably got reviews and write-ups and things, and Lamar's here, and Lamar with his moral conscience that's kind of driving John nuts. And now he's got these other 3 guys that he's like, you got to respect me. I'm Captain America. And no one is.
Yeah. And he's got a massive feelings of inadequacy for anyone who happened to have had the super soldier serum, because he is literally in the similar costume as Captain America was. And so he's trying to fill those shoes, and he doesn't have the super soldier serum. So he's always going to feel a set of inadequacy. And then he looks at Bucky, and he's like, oh, all that serum running
coursing through your veins.
Yeah. Did Bucky let him through? We don't see.
I'm going to guess he did.
Yeah, because he's like, your partner needs you.
He's not my partner.
He's not.
I guess he kind of is.
I like him.
I don't know.
He texts me. I mean, wouldn't you still feel a little bit of, like, being lonely as you were?
Yeah.
You would still feel a little bit of obligation to the people that actually care about you enough to text you when you're in that lonely state, even if you never reply.
Absolutely.
You're like,
Sam is a lifeline for Bucky. I think Bucky's like, I don't need a lifeline, but I think he really does need a lifeline, and Sam is one of those people. And so Cap gets through. I wish we'd gotten to see how, but I don't think it's important. What's important is that he comes through, and it's at the most inopportune time.
Yeah.
I have seen Mythbusters do a bull in a china shop, and they don't break anything. You would think that they would, but they go right through the aisles very quickly and easily, and they never knock anything over. And they're very swift,
yeah.
They're delicate and beautiful on their feet. If you're really paying close attention, they just are really big and massive. And so I do not liken Cap's arrival to a bull in a china shop. It's more like the Tasmanian devil arriving completely uselessly, but with a lot of spittle.
Yeah.
I hate him so much.
I have to, like, shout out to Wyatt Russell for acting his butt off, because he does these small things, and there's one that's upcoming that I can't wait to talk about.
The hand thing?
Yeah, the hand thing, and like there's this thing with his face he does that like is just like he's just
like having one,
and then like his hand, he clenches his hand, like he's doing such subtle acting.
That hand clench though is a symptom of stress. Like he is, it's his, like he's clenching and unclenching because I bet his hand has gone cold because all of his veins are shrinking up. And he's getting less blood flow, and his blood pressure is going through the roof, and that's why he's flexing his hand, is to get the return of blood flow.
Yeah,
it's really well done.
And then we get this, like, I love this chase so much. Like, a scene the jump up the stairs, and then the jump down, and Bucky like over the over the railing, like
so well
just
done.
the running.
Yeah.
And then
which is great, like great film work. This is amazing film work because they're showing us superheroic, super soldier actions, not necessarily superheroes, in tight enclosed spaces because this feels like a real place that they're doing, and they're getting these camera angles to show you the superheroics that they're doing. That's great. I was impressed the whole way through this action scene.
And then Bucky and Sam's like, this place is a maze. It's like, I love it. And then we get the super soldier serum, and we get Carly who's like shot, stomach wounds, not good. Hopefully she can heal with that super soldier serum. Hopefully that's part of the deal.
Yeah.
And then we get the smashing happen, and then Zemo gets the shield to the face, which was I froze it because I was like, how did they do this?
Make it big.
Make it big? Okay.
Yeah. This is so good.
And like it's so good. I went frame by frame because I wanted to see him get hit in the head and be like, how did they? And then they did a couple of these, like they smashing vials on glass so you could actually see it from underneath. And I have something for you because
I asked for it.
You asked for this. So this is, I cut out Carly out of him smashing all the vials because you asked me to do
I know. This is a super important moment.
Yeah.
This is the moment where they say no more. They've killed the guy who can make it. There were only 20 vials in existence. 8 of them have been used. There is 12 remaining. And I know that people are commenting on the fact that we don't really see all 11 of the ones that are smashed. But we are given to believe that he has smashed all 11 as we go through this thing. Now I say that there's one that did not get smashed. And that is extremely relevant in the next couple of moments here. I just really wanted to reiterate over and over and over again how just gratifying is this for Zemo, right?
He's like, yes,
finally I killed those 5 guys in Russia. This Cap is gone.
All I gotta do is take out that Bucky Barnes
guy is the only one left after I deal with these flag smasher tools, and I shot one of them already. So smashy. Wow, this is great.
I made a GIF. There you go.
Thank you so much.
Do you want me to tweet it out later?
Yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you want to keep this? This is a brilliant gift to be used. And so it's time for us to Captain's new Cap.
No. We should do this later when he has the little. Okay.
Here's the vials.
Okay, so
let's take our own super soldier serum.
Okay, so I was like, Kyle.
Oh, you can't see it because it's blue. I'll hold it up to this.
Hold it in front of you.
Still not going to come through. Yeah. It's blue, folks.
It's blue. Okay, so I was like, how does he take it? Because he obviously takes it like sometime in here, like between like when he finds it in a bit and later. Yep. And he's like, how does he take it? Does he inject it? Does he even know how to take it? He takes it on his own? Like people don't know he took it? I think he shot glassed it.
Absolutely.
So cheers.
Here you go. Cheers.
Cheers. Special
Blue
drink.
Shots. Special drink.
Super
for
soldier
a special
serum.
Show. Let's take our own super soldier serum.
Put it against my purple hair. Does it help? No.
Oh, there's a little bit of blue. Yeah, there you go.
Okay.
Anyway, here we are.
So what is it? What is it first?
Drink it first, and then you'll know.
Oh, it's minty.
I do not like peppermint schnapps on its own. Oh, you know what that is, though?
What was it?
The nicest aftertaste I've ever had in a beverage.
I mean, now my breath smells wintry fresh.
Hey, it's peppermint schnapps.
It's peppermint schnapps, but with blue added?
Blue peppermint schnapps.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh. It tastes like I just guzzled mouthwash.
Yeah. Mouthwash you're allowed to drink.
Yes.
Yeah. Zach's line there. Zach is Allison's husband. He's like, he should have licked it off the floor.
Yeah, that would have been really funny. If it was just a guzzly thing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
He just throws himself on the ground and he's just trying to suck as much of it as he can.
Did we know that in the fanny pack also had like an injection needle and you had to, or it's a suppository.
Oh, we already on to this?
Well, this is where you asked me to put the thing.
Okay,
so Kyle wanted me to just put Nietzsche on a slide.
Right. Okay. It's such a fraught word.
Okay.
Because I think Nietzsche.
Are we talking about Ubermensch?
Nietzsche harkens everyone immediately to Nazism and domineering.
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of that element that's there.
So you better watch out. Dominic's in the chat.
Let's talk a little bit about who Friedrich Nietzsche is, because I'm sorry, it's going to be a little bit of a lesson. Hopefully you enjoy this because you don't know as much of it. And I didn't either until I got into this piece. But
Dominic will correct you.
I've been watching a lot of Amazon's Invincible.
Oh, yes.
And Marie Claire's watched it and then said no more and threw her hands up and walked away.
Well, it's just when he squished the dude's head that I was
agree.
just like...
So Invincible is another superhero TV show, and I started watching it this week. There's only 5 episodes out. And now I've watched Invincible in connection with Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And this one, and Invincible has a whole bunch of superheroes, and this one is all about super soldiers.
Yeah.
That I think that it might be relevant to talk about where all of this comes from. So let's talk, and this is important because Nietzsche's Übermensch, the overman, the omni-man, the overlook of humanity, the evolution of mankind. Superman comes from that. Superman was created by Simon and Schuster, and Simon came up with him as a bad guy, and Schuster said this might actually be better as a good guy. Mm-hmm. And it all came from Nietzsche's Overmensch, which is one of his books. Okay, so Nietzsche. Who was Friedrich Nietzsche? Friedrich Nietzsche was a young man growing up in a time of a great deal of intellectual stimulating thought in what became Germany in the 1800s. He was born in 1844, I want to say, and he passed away in 1900. He was 55 years old.
It's been a while since I've taken philosophy.
When he was 24... He was promoted to the chair of philology, which is kind of like philosophy in antiquated times, at the University of Basel. Pretty prestigious position, the youngest person to have ever been appointed to such a prestigious sort of chair in history. And it's because he was a brilliant man. He was studied, read thoroughly, knew tons of things, and he started writing. And for the next 10 years, between the ages of 24 and 34, he was the head. And then he left. He had a massive breakdown. His health was never very good, and he went to live with his mother for the rest of the time.
As one does when they have a nervous breakdown
at 34.
34.
Okay.
Yep.
And it's around this time from 1879 to 1889 that the most of his core works were written. This is where Overmensch was written. This is where
Isn't it Ubermensch or was it
Ubermensch? Sure,
okay.
This is where the will to power was written. But these were just his notebooks. He was just writing his thoughts. He was just reading in response to other people and responding in his own way in his own notes because he was very unwell. His mom dies. His sister takes him in. His sister and her husband are terrible people.
Nazis.
They are definitively Nazis.
As Dominic just put in the chat.
His sister, and this only came out in the last 20 years.
Okay.
So for a very long time, we have had in our media this belief, this understanding that Nietzsche led to Nazism, and his core writings were really preponderant and initiating to that line of thinking.
Yeah, it's been over 20 years since I took Nietzsche.
But a lot of current and 20 years ago now, thought and research into Nietzsche's writings has largely disproved a lot of these things. That he actually was very much against the rise of Nazism, that he was against this belief that So, and I'm going to wander all over the place because unfortunately I haven't had time to write this essay. So what we think of as Nietzsche's writing is probably wrong, and you should probably have another look at it because it is a great deal more full of forethought and foresight than you would have. But it's also going to make you think really hard, deep thoughts. And I'm bringing it up because Zemo is very Nietzschean in some ways. Like he believed, like his idea of how superheroes and power is working is actually very true to Nietzsche's perspective, that you need to be careful about this sort of thing. Whereas everybody else seems to be willy-nilly about it, right? The only one who has any sort of, possible qualm about it is Sam, when he answers, no, I wouldn't take the serum right away. I'm happy with who I am, and this is who I need to be. Yeah. I'm already a superhero. I don't need to be a super soldier. Okay. Wow. Okay.
Well, and Dominic said he was already dead when his sister took over his works and adjusted.
He actually wasn't quite dead yet. She started adjusting his stuff 3 years before he died. One of the things that he tried to do before his death was to say, I'm not German. I'm Polish. I can trace my German. I don't have any German descent in me at all. I am specifically, entirely, totally Polish. Oh. And this was 1900. That this was happening. He was trying to make a very clear demarcation to say this rise in German nationalism, jingoism, patriotism. Yeah. It was building,
which was building in Germany
with Bismarck. He did not want to have anything to do with it. And the fact that his writing was twisted in this way by his sister and his sister's husband is terrible and saddening. So it's great that we get to see what his specific perspective was going forward. Now, why is this relevant? Why is this important?
Okay, what? So what, Kyle?
Okay. So, and this is relevant to today. This is why I want to talk about all of this and why it's relevant and important. Okay. Nietzsche started to see this starting to happen in Catholicism and in Christianity. People were starting to lose their belief in God. And he conjectured and he called it the death of God. The death of God will cause a huge transition and change.
And it was against nihilism, right?
In our society.
Yeah.
The death of God will change our belief system and our structure as a society. And we need desperately to find some way to fill that void. For in that void lies nihilism.
Yeah.
And he conjectured that there will be two ways in which this will go forward. The nihilistic approach that there is no meaning to life, and therefore nothing matters.
Yeah.
And he says this is the way unto death of civilization.
Yeah.
And he said we need to look for something else. And his predecessor, Schopenhauer, said the will to live is the building block of the universe. I love
Schopenhauer.
Right? The will to live is what's important. And Nietzsche said...
And sacrifice for others.
Right.
Yeah.
And Nietzsche said, I think it's different. I think it's more than that. The will to power is what's important. And this was taken by Nazism and run with. Like, we will rule over all.
We'll just take that, put it in our pocket and run!
And Nietzsche's stance on this is very refined, and I haven't read it literally. I've only read the Wikipedia articles and the summaries and whatnot. I am not an expert that you should be adhering to, but the will to power has more to do with your own personal power and what you choose to do with it, and the acquisition
sort of like your own hero's journey.
So he wrote the Übermensch, which is like an over humanity. He said that the only way we can get past the death of God is by becoming better as people, as becoming the next evolved group of people. He took a lot of stuff from Darwin and he built, and he had this real melting pot of ideas. And this was a brilliant time full of intense logical and theoretical and philosophical discussion and development. This is huge at this time. There's so many others that are happening. Derrida is happening with structuralism, and we've got a whole bunch of Russian formalism happening, plus everything with Hobbes and whatnot, and happening in the US. This is a massive philosophy push in this time frame, and Nietzsche's right there in Poland.
Yeah.
And he's talking about this. So it's relevant to our discussion of super soldiers because they are
and superheroes,
humans, and how to be. So it is not just enough to have increased strength and skill and speed of thought. You have to be that evolved human. You have to be
morally capable and things like that. Yeah.
It's not that you need to replace God. God has died. And as much as I don't like to say this because, doubtlessly scores of massive Catholics and Christians are watching this and listening to my voice, and they don't want to hear people say like the death of God. The problem is that there's been so much philosophical and clinical thought into the process of who God is and how does belief work, that it's a personal thing. It is not an overarching societal thing. The societal impact of God is gone. That there is no impact of God over our entire society. It's a personal choice. And I think that's great. That helps us all find our way through the death of God to be bigger, stronger, better, more compassionate, overmensch humans, right?
Yeah. And that you find God in how you live your life.
Exactly. So again, it's the will to power. How will you wield the power you have? I have a belief in God, and my belief brings me to greater acclaim and esteem. How do you put that forward? So bringing it all back to the show, I think in many ways there's a modern Nietzschean viewpoint and lens.
Neo-Nietzschean.
Sure. That we are looking at in the production of this show. And it's important for us to see who are our superheroes.
Yeah.
What do our superheroes do, and why do they do the things they're doing? And nonstop, we have gotten barraged and battered with this.
Yeah.
Carly making the poor choice and killing those people with the bomb.
And feeling like that was her only choice,
exactly.
too. Yeah.
We're getting what happens when someone who should not have been given the super soldier serum and have that elevation into an evolved human state, where does that take them, and what does that say for the rest of us who are behind? And I think that's one of the reasons why we can see Zemo through a sympathetic lens. Because we see the potential rise of John Walker. We see the damage that John Walker is about to undertake because he is now a super soldier.
Yeah.
And what Zemo was trying to stop. We get Zemo's motivations. We get some of Zemo's actions, but we cannot support Zemo.
Because he's willing to shoot somebody in the head.
Because I still have to give it to him. He's willing to take it to the extreme. He is willing to go the full mile to stop this from happening.
Thank you thank you, Professor Kyle, for the neo-Nietzschean connection and lens by which we are dealing with this.
So a takeaway for you is thinking about this, maybe open up some of the writings of Nietzsche to see how is this being played out then. And then, because I always like to think about this, and I talk to my kids about this all the time, sort of stuff too. How do you see this playing out in the modern day?
Yeah.
When we just see Biden sign into effect a budget of $733 billion to the Pentagon, which is more than they've ever had before.
Yeah.
Rather than give that money to the education or to healthcare or to the regular people, he's giving
Social Security,
to defense.
Yeah.
Defense of what at this point? I really want to know.
I mean, it's foreign policy because all of these people are in foreign locations, right?
It's many things.
Yeah.
But one thing for sure is it helping the common American civilian?
No.
By spending the money in this way. And so he has that power. This is what he is choosing to use that power with because he is in that position. He is the John Walker.
Yeah, and to bring this back to like what the Force and what the fiction talks about on a regular basis, this is entirely hero's journey, heroine's journey stuff, right? So it's like what you choose to do with your own path and your own power and becoming the god, the inner god, or the inner goddess within. That's entirely what this is, right? And it's really fascinating that you were able to find that with, okay, I came around. Okay, you were right. So there you go. About what Zemo is saying.
Oh, yeah, he can still be creepy and bad.
No. I still think that he's coming from a place of like, I don't want to give up my power. He's not in it for anybody else's good but his own. But that is what he is saying, is that we have to be wary of those who want to use power for Yeah, exactly.
He is still saying if there's bad food in the galley, feed it to these guys. He's still telling the kids those are bad guys. But he is currently having to work with Avengers superheroes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Like
fraught.
he still needs superpowered individuals or people with extreme like suits and things like that to achieve his goals. Yeah. So I mean, people have been talking about like the group that he potentially might form by the end of this.
Thunderbolts. Come on, who cares? Let's move on. Phase 4. It's more about superheroes, please.
I do want to point out that I've been struggling. Like I literally had a dream about this. I'm like, okay, so when they bring in the mutants, the MCU is in a place by which like people with superpowers are not like weird or cast down upon. Like people go and like get like pictures with like John Walker, or they get pictures with Bruce Banner in the cafe in Endgame. Like they're like, Bruce Banner and Ussie, because we've been watching Ted Lasso.
Yeah.
But like I'm like, how do they bring in the mutants? Because especially the Fox mutants and the comics play up the otherness of mutants and the discrimination and the hate and the just the bias completely towards mutants, that they are dangerous and that I'm like, are they going to go into that with the Wandas of the world and like any sort of superpowered individual, especially mutants who come from us? Mm-hmm. Is that going to be a thing? And I can finally see how that mentality that so drives the hate of the X-Men and the mutants could come out in this phase.
The biggest lie of this episode, as Amanda Miller says, is that someone wanted Walker's autograph.
No. They wanted it so that they could burn it with a lighter off on a TikTok afterwards. Yes.
Just hearkening
All
again.
Right, so we drank our shots too early. This is when I
took
want
them exactly when we wanted to.
This is when I wanted to drink the shots because oh my god, these shot him like looking at him like, does he drink it? Is it a suppository? Like what is it? I struggled with this. I'm like, how do you take the super soldier serum? Because in Steve, he had it injected and then he had to have like the Zeta rays or whatever.
Yeah. That was the food to feed him.
Yeah.
To make him
he just
grow
cracks
bigger,
cracks it open on a cheeseburger and eats it.
You'd think he should have been sick for days as his body changed and underwent all of this massive stuff. But no,
Steve,
it's been perfected.
Steve was good in like 30 minutes.
Nagel was a god.
Yeah.
He said it. I am a god. I have created this quaffing liquid that you can take and suddenly you're a superhero.
Oh yeah, people love your Dark Phoenix shirt. I'm wearing Ray, but he's wearing Dark Phoenix, so ooh. I love Zemo in this episode for just being like chill in every scene. Like he's drinking alcohol. He's eating a little like cookie with a hole in it. He's like sneaking out into the bathroom. Like he's got the best moments.
Yeah.
Where they just cut to him and he's just amazing. But I do like the scene where he kind of tests Sam and is like, would you take it? And he's like, no. And he's like, well, and
not even a hesitation.
Yeah. And
you are a rarity, Sam.
Soldiers can't be allowed to exist. And it's like, well, isn't that how gods talk? Like, aren't you making a decision?
Sam knows gods.
I know. Like, but like, aren't you making a decision that like, somebody who makes decisions like a god would make? Like, aren't you just being... I love that he calls him out to say, like, aren't you making a decision that really you can't make? So is Zemo going to become an anti-mutant person? That's my question for the future. I think so. Okay. Hi, John Walker, Captain America. Okay, this is the scene. How he looks... So there was this like Twitter reaction from Lady V who's in the chat. People were like, oh my God, he looks at her in this way. And this is a thing that I especially noticed, especially women were noticing, that he looks at her in this particular way, which is like, hi, I'm a non-threatening man. I can take care of it. And even what he says, like, let's put the pointy sticks down, ladies. Like, blah, blah, blah. This is called benevolent sexism, and it can actually be benevolent discrimination in general. So benevolent racism, benevolent sexism. It is not the aggressive form of these things. It is considered to be benevolent because it sounds nice and it sounds kind and it's said with a particular smile on your face, but every woman has recognized it. And it's especially this particular form of it, which is benevolent sexism. So he comes up to her and is like, hey, I'm here to help, little lady, I'm going to help you solve your problems and let's just calm right down. And it's all from a position of trying to maintain either control over the situation or power. And people reacted to it on Twitter. Like there were people like, oh my God, I've seen that. I've felt that. And you fall into it very, very quickly if you're not like used to recognizing it in yourself. And there's a difference between being respectful and being protective and things like that and slipping into it in a way. Like there was an example.
Has he taken the drug in this scene yet?
Yes.
You think he has?
No, I think he takes it after this because I think this triggers this.
Yeah. I think honestly, John Walker has an inferiority complex.
Yes.
And that this comes out and this is a byproduct of his inferiority complex.
Yeah. That he's kicked butt by the Dora Milaje. Like, oh my God. An example of this is, not recognizing women for particular traits, but recognizing them for other things. Like they were an excellent mother, but they were also like a scientist who was like world renowned. Like the most recent thing is like Prince Philip came to Calgary to visit. This was the news. It's like Prince Philip came to Calgary many times with his wife. It's like, you mean his wife, the Queen? Like, well, it was weird.
He's the one that died.
I know, but he could, with the Queen, they could have said that. Like, it's not like there was that much limit on the article title. It's just weird. Anyways, so I just want you to think about benevolent sexism because it does play out in how people talk to people. It plays out. Benevolent racism also plays out like, oh, I'll take care of that for you. It is a very hard
and as everyone
thing.
Says, they weren't even super soldiers. He makes a comment about this. They weren't even super soldiers.
Yes.
Three people in chat. They weren't even super soldiers.
The Dora Milaje make their jurisdiction wherever they go. Yes. And then there's the amazing fight scene where he puts his hand on her shoulder, which he deserved to have his ass kicked just for that.
Stop doing it to me then.
Sorry. And then I just like when Zemo exits, I'm like, Zemo, exit, stage left. I said that in my brain. So yeah. I just loved it so.
Yes. He's very fragile and it makes sense because everything is chasing. Yeah. Everything is chasing.
He does something with his face, especially when he just like had
can you just back up a second?
Oh, sure.
Okay, cool. Before we move on to the other. So John Walker as well. I hate what they keep doing with John Walker. There's a line he says, and we're probably not going to have a scene of this. He says, I got 3 medals of valor, so I would never forget what I did that day. That they gave me 3 medals so that I would never. Oh, it was
a bad choice.
I would never. It wasn't a bad choice, but it's still something he has to live with. People would have, and Lamar's like, people would have died. I'm going to guess people did die, just not the people they didn't want to die. Yeah. And he got 3 medals of valor for what he did on that day. And everyone constantly mentions it. Your 3 medals of valor. Yeah. And as soon as they say that,
he makes a face.
Takes him back to that time. Yeah. Where he had to make that choice and save those, do the things that he did, whatever they were. Yeah. If they were heroic or not, we won't know. People are viewing the results of that as heroism. Mm-hmm. Results of an action don't necessarily mean that the action was heroic. Yeah. But he is being touted and upheld and held, and I think that he feels guilt and hardship, and it made me emote with the freaking big-eared asshole.
I feel bad for him. I pity him. Actually, I hope that he comes to some sort of resolution after making all of these bad choices.
He's just going to live in jail for a long time.
I don't know if he will. I think he might be a character after this. Anyway, so then we get this insane moment where Ayo just takes out Bucky. And I know you have some opinions on this. I feel like it can be both, right? It can be a betrayal of Bucky, and it can also be that the Wakandan guard, the Dora Milaje, were protecting themselves from, hey, we don't actually know that everything is gone. We want to make him feel like, yes, he is in control, but we don't actually know. And it's not like the arm is permanently disabled. He is just taken out for the moment.
Yep.
I think that's really, really important.
Yeah, we get to see him put his arm back on. He's Astra.
Yeah, he's Astro, yeah.
Which is Astro. Astra.
Is Astra? Is that okay? So super Canadian thing.
Yeah, it was a very Canadian thing.
Yeah, Google it. I'm Astra. I can put my arm back on. It was a public service
announcement. So play safe.
So play safe. Like, it was so scary as a kid. Like, go Google that.
It was a great video, though. Like, it captures the imagination. And I was like, I'm not going to be...
There's Canadian PSAs out there, like House Hippo, Astra, Don't You Put It in Your Mouth. Those three are, like, Canadiana. Like, going...
And our Heritage Minutes.
Oh, Heritage Minutes, yeah.
Have you seen the Heritage Minutes where they're talking about how terrible Canadian geese are? It's like a spoof Heritage Minutes.
Was it 22 minutes?
May have been, but that was a delight.
Yeah.
Just like this moment was a delight.
Yeah.
I loved it when they knocked his arm off. I was like,
boop, 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 boop. Yeah.
What an invasion of his personal space. And he just, the look on Sebastian Shaw's face, Sebastian Stan?
Yes.
Sebastian Stan's face, and she's like,
he does so good, and he's like betrayed, like, oh, you took off my arm.
I thought you might have done that as the scene where it's like boop boop boop, and his arm just falls off.
Well, the meme I saw for this moment was amazing.
Yeah,
was amazing. It's Don't Tell Rocket.
Don't Tell Rocket.
Yeah, it was so good. You all don't understand that reference, but go Google them. Yeah, you'll love them. So, anyways, this is hard because Sebastian Stan is acting his butt off with all of this, like the betrayal, the pain, all of this. But it can be both things. It can be that, hey, if you could have a way to be like, I'm going to deactivate that gun, like before you give it to somebody, you'd have that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although I'm 8 hours wasn't up.
No. Nobody can tell time.
Once again,
the light is the same. It's been like 3
they're like
3
the
hours.
Same as Captain America, though. Like, Captain America couldn't wait 10 minutes. They couldn't wait their 8 hours.
Nobody can wait any sort of time. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then we get the
trigger points.
They broke John Walker in this scene. This is when he breaks.
I loved this moment when he's like, he refuses to let go of the shield
to get his arm out.
The shield free. And he's like, I can just let go of the shield. And I think I'm hoping that he, in what is to come, can learn to let go of the shield.
Yeah, that would be good. And then the Dora Milaje person, I don't think it was Ao in this scene, but like she kicks it and it
just
comes
like
up
Steve.
Just like Steve, and it's like, ha ha, you're inadequate, man.
We've been playing a lot of disc golf.
Yes.
And this is like, it's my favorite sport in the world right now. I'm loving it so much. You know where I'm going with this?
No, I have no idea.
Oh, really? Okay, so we've been playing a lot of disc golf, and disc golf has a whole bunch of numbers in regards to things. And just because of how often it is thrown about, I really want to know what the numbers are for Captain America's shield.
It's got to be. It's got to be
speed, glide, turn, fade.
No, it's overstable.
Yeah, it's totally overstable.
It's an overstable disc.
Yeah. With probably a really high speed and long glide.
Yeah.
Yeah, it probably is. It actually might just be more of a mid-range, like my Gote.
It's like your Gote.
It's probably gonna go straight and true.
No, it's like my Chewbacca disc.
Okay, well, I don't think anybody in the chat is in here for disc golf conversations, but hey, I've been wondering for a while now what Captain America's frisbee is for numbers for his disc.
Yeah. Exactly. And then we got the interesting call with Carly calling Sarah. And I mean, you had a great point. We talked about this scene. We talked too much before this, but you had a great point, which was that you said that just having her call, even if she was like, so what kind of guy is your brother? Can I trust him? It was a threat.
Yeah.
Even if she didn't threaten her, it was still a threat that she had her number. And how did she get all that, like, access to information? Who's They must have a backer. Like, they must. There's no way.
They have people.
They have people.
They have the support of the masses.
Oh, I guess,
right?
yeah.
So many people support them.
Yeah, that's true. Fine. Anyways, they tried to pair them sympathetically, and you saying that this is an episode in contradictions shows that. She's threatening her, but they're literally both looking the same way and in the exact same, like, emotionally it's supposed to play like they're both innocents. What are you doing to me, show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I really want to trust your brother, but just in case I can't trust him,
I'm going to kill your kids.
I know where you are right now on the dock. I know the names of your kids and where you are.
Haha.
Take that information how you will.
Yeah.
What?
And then we get Lamar hanging out on the floor of this bathroom.
Yeah, and Lily's like, how did Carly get Sarah's number? Carly got Sarah's number the same way Carly gets all of her information, tech, cars, driving. Like, everywhere she goes, people are there to help. She just has to call a number, and people will find that out for her, because that's what the Flag Smashers are kind of. I think there were supposed to be more of that to begin with, and we're getting less and less and less of that as we get more and more and more Carly. But remember, the Flag Smashers started out as like a postmodern app where you interact with VR.
Yeah, and it's like, all of this is free because people just feel inspired by this cause, and even her underling, like
Nico,
is he the one that dies at the end?
Yes.
Yeah. Oh. Poor R.I.P. Nico.
Lucas Schratz or something. I can't remember. His grandfather's name was Lucas, which, if hoping for Marvel Easter eggs like they did in WandaVision, I was like, ooh, there's a big name in letters across for this grave. Who is this person? No, that name does not have any. I couldn't find anything on that name in Google.
But he's like, you're the first person that I've thought of as a genuine leader after Steve Rogers, who I idealized as a kid. Yep. Wow, that's some high praise, right? You really wanted that shot of
right. This is also important. So Captain America, we're being shown that his viewpoint is obscured. It's broken. It's blurry. He does not have a good view of what he's seeing, and his actions should be held accountable for that. And they're going to show us that by having scratched images and blurred
broken
focus,
things
around him. And it's a perfect vantage point here as we look through this window that is very scratched and beaten up to see John Walker. Furthermore, another thing that I forgot to mention that I wanted to slide on is a lot of the scenes that you see Sam in, there are mirrors in the same image. Sam walks by a bunch of mirrors because this is a point of self-reflection for Sam. Sam is looking,
who is he? Yeah.
Who am I? And I think we're going to see it. We actually probably have been seeing mirrors the whole time and not even noticed it.
Yeah. And then we get this amazing scene with, this was in the trailer, and Bucky catches the knife and then he does this nice spin. Megan just left the chat, and this was specifically for her, so I'm sad. But Bucky with a knife, Ducky with a knife. That's all my brain does. He's so cute.
He even had the look like, a knife. Who brings a knife to a superhero fight? Who brings a knife to a superhero fight?
Yeah, that was Captain America that did that. But yeah, just the knife. He's so cute with his little knife. He's so cute. I love him. Yeah. Anyways, we get this horrible scene. So, oh my God. The end part of this whole thing was very visceral, and I'm trying not to show so much of it. I didn't end up showing the guy on the ground, like, being like, please, because I was like,
that's the very end, right?
Yeah.
We're not there yet. But first, we've got to fight. And
they had the fight, and then, Carly comes over the table and kicks Lamar into the pillar. Is Lamar dead? Is he dead?
So, New Cap is probably not a trained medic and has no real way of determining if a person is alive or not. But I'm pretty sure Lamar Hoskins is dead. And that was one of the main problems I have with this episode.
Because he's so cool. I don't want him to be dead.
Well, he's also a main point of holding John Walker back.
That's true.
And we don't have the sound voice of reason if Lamar Hoskins is dead.
My hope is he's just in the hospital and unconscious.
Yeah, no, I'm going to guess that I would like that. But given where things are going to go and what I said at the beginning, that new Captain America is our enemy.
Yeah.
That he has to be dead.
Like you said that, yeah.
He has to be dead. He is the only person that held John Walker back.
Yeah.
Was Lamar. And Battlestar is now gone. Did anybody intend for that to happen? No. Is this the thing that Zemo is the most worried about? Yes.
Yes. And then I did want to point out, so I took pictures of all the times that people were taking pictures of John Walker, Captain America. The whole world is watching you, John Walker, because it's really important that all of these things have been filmed and now they're on Instagram and they're on social media, right? Yep. They're on TikTok, they're on Twitter. And like, it's such an interesting like ad to make it so modern, to say like, look, you can't get away with anything. You can't just be this guy that can literally kill somebody in the street, because these things are watching. Unfortunately, you're going to get away with it because you're literally the symbol of America.
Yeah.
That is what they're saying. And this happens. This is the only reason that certain war crimes committed by U.S. troops on foreign soil are even held to any sort of account, is because people filmed it. They filmed it of themselves, right? So this is the thing that is being said. And then, you know, we get this final moment. And
chat, I know you're hopeful that Lamar is not dead, but the interviews that I've read and the Wikipedia whatnot that I've witnessed, he's not alive.
Yeah.
I mean, I would also hope that this character is not dead, but I don't hold out hope here.
Yeah.
And I don't think you should either, because this is a main turning point for John Walker. He has already been down the villain path along, and somebody was holding him from veering off the edge of the road.
Lamar was his conscience.
And that person is gone.
Yeah.
And that's going to show that.
And this is John Walker as Captain America in a very similar scene in the comic books. It's Captain America 388. I don't really know who this character is because I literally found it online. But that's like how he's anti. He sounds like Zemo.
Yeah.
Like that's, and so like I don't know what's gonna happen, because this is where they're pulling it all from. This concept of him destroying others. So that was my slide slip presentation. So it's a very complex episode, because it does play with all these contradictions and gray areas, and saying like these things don't have easy answers, and yet it asks it 2/3 of the way through a 6-hour show. I don't know. It's hard. I mean, it's good that we have all of these things to talk about. You and I have had like the most cool conversation based on this episode. But like, how do you resolve these things? Or do you even try to resolve them? Or do you get them to a place by which, like, I mean, I can't imagine that Bucky and Sam won't be either, like, I don't know what they're going to do.
Well, Malcolm Spellman, in the article I read, he said movies and TV shows are different from a structural perspective, and that a movie you build from the ground up. The movie goes upwards. So you start with your foundation and you move up in a movie, and then it exists as its codified entity. TV shows are built on a linear or a lateral progression. You start here and you move this way, typically, and I'll move off screen, this way in time. This usually means that there's a set amount of time that's going to pass, and everything is up and down in a movie. And he said, based on the way that Marvel is running things, they always are looking at it as though it is both.
Right.
So we're constantly moving laterally, but we have to continue to lay groundwork to allow us to build vertically, which is a horribly weird analogy, but I can also start to see it. He said it was very difficult to get into the Marvel process because there are two executives. He was so
used to
doing his own thing. There are two executives in the room, in the writer's room at all times.
Interesting.
He called up all of his friends and he's like, how do I deal with this? The execs are in here. Because like it felt like you're constantly in a job interview, right? Usually the execs are like, go, and you do it, right? They're busy doing other things. But the executives for Marvel, because they're constantly building up and building over, are constantly involved in all of the different aspects of what's going on. And he said to do a 6-part miniseries that has long-standing timeline related pieces, and then to try to build a vertical in this, he said it was very hard to do, but that once he got the concept for what Marvel was trying to do and how they were implementing it and how quickly the executives were a part of that creative process, he said that he and his wife own their own production company. And he said, I've taken things I learned from the Marvel process and I am applying that in my own production company because I found it so valuable in the process. So he's happy and excited about what has been created.
Oh, good.
And that leads me to feel like, okay, well, I've been shepherded. I've been handheld. I know what's going to happen. I know what the potentiality for things are going to happen. And I know how much they protect the future of what the MCU will look like. I am feeling like this show will be exciting and engaging and material.
Yeah.
In the next 2 hours to come.
Yeah. I think that I'm still trying to figure out like what is the thing that they're trying to solve in this, or like where is it gonna go? Because like really, who's the enemy? It's gonna be U.S. agents in the end, right? Isn't it? Because like that's what we saw from the beginning was like, okay, this guy's gonna start out trying to be a hero and he's gonna fall.
Yeah,
and like that's super interesting in and of itself. I still hope that he comes to some sort of resolution by the end of it, but and I don't want him to be killed. I mean, death count. Sorry, we didn't do death count.
Oh, well, death count, everyone.
2.
1.
2.
Well, Lamar and the other guy. 2 people dead.
Yeah.
One at the hands of Carly Morgenthau and the other at the hands of new Captain America.
Yeah.
New old Captain America. And you will take your shield now, sir.
Yeah. U.S. agent. I mean, it would be good if they did. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, like, so we'll have to have some. I didn't do a faction slide this time, and I'll do one next time if we get a new person, because I was like, oh, there's a new person. I got to rearrange the faction slide. But what Power Broker is going to be resolved or unmasked by the end, probably, right? And it would be cool if Sharon had like a bigger role as like, or
it sure resolves the need for Sam to clear her name, because I can't even picture how he's going to do that.
You can't. Well, she's not. I don't think she even wants that. Really, I think she's just trying to play along.
It's been 5 years. I think she's gotten over it.
She's trying to play along, I think, to get the Super Soldier Serum back.
Yeah,
but like that's the motivation.
Isn't any left.
There isn't any left, so
all gone.
She's gonna want to probably capture Carly or one of the Super Soldiers to reverse engineer that stuff.
I think they're going back to America.
Yeah.
I can't see things staying in Riga. I think the Flag Smashers will have fled. Mm-hmm. But they're basically, this is now going to be the start of the 2-hour movie that is the conclusion.
That will be it'll be the denouement.
I don't know. No. Because we haven't had the climax yet.
Oh, well, I mean, sorry, climax and denouement. Sorry.
Yes. So we are going to get, this has all been rising action all along.
Yeah.
Pretty limited in time.
So I'm like, they add another person?
They can't. If they add another person,
they are. They said they added another person, unless that other person, just like WandaVision, is somebody we already know, i.e. Sharon is the Power Broker.
Right.
And they're like, oh, we just revealed that Sharon is the power broker. And then you're like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just so funny. I don't know.
It's interesting, engaging, and
there's a lot to talk about.
I think they'll go back to Madripoor or they'll go back to America.
Yeah.
But Carly's down one more super soldier.
Yeah. I think Zemo is still going to head after the Flag Smashers as a way. Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if he will have it out for the power broker too, because the power broker is going to want to make more.
How can the power broker make more?
I mean, I don't know. Capturing this Flag Smashers and then reverse engineering.
Reversing the blood?
Yeah.
I guess.
I think that's the only solution now to try to make more powered people. Superpowered people. Yeah.
I had trouble with this episode.
Yes.
Because of everything that it discusses. And I don't think it's clear in its own lens work as to who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, or what we're supposed to take away from it.
And who we're supposed to identify with / understand out of this, other than Sam being a good person.
Other than Sam a good guy, but he is in over his head, and that's pretty high because he can fly. And Bucky definitely got relegated this episode. He did not get much exploration at all, despite the fact that we got a minute scene in the beginning and then his arm gets ripped off.
Yeah. But that minute scene in the beginning was just to show like that relationship
stuff that we'd already learned.
Wakanda.
Yeah.
So
and one other thing. It is relevant. Bucky speaks Wakandan.
Oh yeah. No, he does, yeah.
That's really relevant, and I think it's important to show just how important his time in Wakanda was.
Yeah.
He learned the language. They don't have to speak English with him. He took the time and effort to learn to speak their language.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to the last 2 episodes.
Yep.
I'm very excited about that. We did find out that Loki has a release date in June. And there's going to be 6 episodes. And
I'm so excited.
Season 1 of Loki. There's going to be 2 seasons. So,
interesting.
Yeah. So that's cool. We're going to cover that. We don't know how.
I love these types of shows. I love that he's called Variant.
Yeah, he's Variant Loki.
If you haven't seen the preview, I would watch it because it will definitely put the lens around what this show is going to be about. Because it could be about anything. And I am delighted. It's over the top delighted.
I'm so excited. And Tom Hiddleston does an amazing Matthew McConaughey impression.
Yeah.
So,
cool.
Yeah, that's going to be like, I hope he gets to pull that out. Like an amazing one. I'm very excited about it. We have some cool plans for the Loki show. It's going to be a different feel because I get bored apparently.
So does Marvel, because it's a completely different feel of a TV show.
Completely different. But can you imagine like WandaVision and then Loki would have been like,
what are you doing, Marvel?
Yeah.
Yeah, they would have definitely asked. I mean,
this is kind of a nice break. It's like, just, 2 bros.
Yeah, and then Marvel's recouping all of the Netflix products and whatnot back from Netflix over
Are we
the next little while.
Daredevil again?
Well, so Daredevil's already been cast, like the actor's already been leaked to be in the new Spider-Man. I can't remember his name. He's from Star...
What?
The actor, Daredevil.
Oh. I don't remember his name.
He's your main guy from Stardust.
I know, he's my...
Yeah.
I know, I'm tired.
So, join us back next week as we dig into episode 5. We are super excited about Loki. Owen Wilson is the helper. He's literally the guy who's like, I'm responsible for you. I know everything you've ever done.
I was confusing the 2 of them.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. They both look the same to me.
I love that. Here's everything you've ever said. Please sign off on it.
Yeah. And he's like, no, I can't do that. And he's like,
and another sheet's added on top. Yeah, it's
Charlie
great.
Cox.
Thank you,
Dominic.
Yeah, so Charlie Cox is going to be in the new Spider-Man.
Yeah.
That's the rumor, the leak. So
wow. Hopefully that's probably when they're going to bring in Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool.
I don't doubt.
They're going to bring in Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool because he's often confused as Spider-Man in the comics.
Yes.
There's an entire comic series where Deadpool pretends to be Spider-Man for a period of time.
Well, this has been episode 4
Yes.
The whole world is watching. Thank you for being the people in our chat watching all the way through this.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to our drink next week. It's not going to be fun because it's another bro drink.
Tequila sunrises were hard.
Yeah,
And
they
then
were sweet. I'm sure you got
the
around
peppermint schnapps. I didn't know it was going to be blue.
it. Yeah, I know. It's exact same color as the stuff in the thing.
Breath still is minty fresh.
Minty fresh.
Yes.
Cool.
Thank you everyone for coming out and listening to us. If you have not yet, like and subscribe so that you can keep up with all of our shows on this channel. We're having a lot of fun with this. It's fun. We're still trying to decide if we're going to stream Bad Batch. We're talking about it for the Star Wars side.
Yeah, I think we should, but we can always just podcast it too.
Yeah.
So check out our voices wherever podcasts can be found. Marie Claire's What the Force still is coming out regularly with lots of great
Every
content.
2 weeks.
And my Tavern Tales and Tavern Tales Jr. can be found on a regular basis if you want to hear more of our voices.
Yeah. Take care, everyone. Cheers.
Yeah.